Business trips are just rehearsals for decisions you don't want to make at home. I flew out on a Tuesday so the company could pretend our Wednesday alignment session meant something. The flight was the same flight every city offers at 9 in the morning. Men in jackets with their laptops open to spreadsheets that breed in captivity. Women who run the world with a single legal pad. A child who announced turbulence like an MC. We landed in a city that believes in glass. The hotel the company booked was the kind of place that names its carpets and has a scent in the lobby that someone got promoted for. A fountain performed competence. A bellman complimented my backpack like it was an art choice. I checked in under my own name and got a key card that felt heavier than it should. Room 1812, the clerk said. Riverview if the river behaves. He slid a small envelope across the marble along with my card. Conference welcome packet, he said. Schedule, badges, a note. Upstairs, my room was a set from a show about a man with better habits. Floor-to-ceiling windows, a bed that made promises. On the desk, a leather folio with the hotel logo embossed, a bottle of water with a price that implied health insurance, and another envelope, smaller, with my name handwritten on the front. For a second, the room felt occupied by a version of me that remembered events. The handwriting was neat and clean, and not anyone's from my office. I opened it. Inside, a business card for Halcyon Rooftop Bar and a note on hotel stationery. 8:30 p.m. Blue dress, M. Not for me. The envelope on the desk was a mistake. I looked again at the front. My last name? Yes, but not my first. S. Whitaker. Sarah, my wife. The room tilted without moving. It's remarkable how quickly your body believes a new grammar. Same bed, different meaning. I read the note again, like that would alter nouns. Blue dress, M. The city beyond the window arranged itself as a map I was suddenly expected to understand without a legend. Sarah wasn't supposed to be in this city. She had told me she'd be in our city all week, covering for a colleague on leave, maybe late at the design studio because campaigns do that. She had said we'd FaceTime. She had kissed me at the door with a distracted sweetness I've always taken as love's quieter cousin. I put the card down and told myself a story that didn't embarrass me. The envelope was misdelivered. The hotel had other Whitakers. The M stood for anything civilized. I set my bag in the closet, and the closet returned the gesture by not falling on me. I showered. I answered 3 emails whose subject lines were either urgent or Thursday. I found the coffee machine, convinced that I was worth the capsule, and then sat on the edge of a bed I had already mentally divided in half. My phone buzzed. Sarah. How's the hotel? Do they have the tiny soaps you secretly love? I stared at the screen and pictured the blue dress I liked too much for it to be casual. I typed great view and deleted it. I typed miss you and sent it. She replied with a heart, the emoji kind, which is to say the kind of heart that doesn't have to carry blood. At 5, our offsite kicked off with the ritual humiliation of being told to be our authentic selves in a room with fluorescent honesty. Mason, my director, stood at the front with his sleeves rolled and the moral authority of a man who has never had to explain a gap on his resume. He introduced the new VP, a woman with the kind of calm that makes slides want to behave, and then did the thing all Mason clones do, turned us into sticky notes. Bring your whole self, he said, not just your functional self. My whole self was in a room 3 floors above mine, reading a note that had arrived for a version of me that didn't exist. I stuck green ideas onto a whiteboard and smiled at a joke invented by someone who doesn't disclose their therapist. At the drinks hour, I stood by the far window with a club soda like a virtue. I watched the river put on its evening face. Cities all do the same trick at dusk. Pretend the lights mean something good is coming. Beside me, Lena from Analytics, who has the posture of a person who corrects typos in her sleep, passed me a bowl of almonds. Your mind isn't here, she said. Parts of it are, I said. Who else, she asked, is stuck in the elevator with you? No one you know. That's either an ethical boundary or an excellent lie, she said. Possibly both. What about you? I asked. I'm trying to figure out how to tell the VP we're measuring the wrong thing without becoming the wrong thing, she said. Mason circulated. People arranged their faces. I excused myself before my mouth did something labor-intensive. In the hallway, a housekeeping cart stood like an innocent witness. I took the stairs two at a time and told myself it was for the cardio. On 18, the carpet swallowed my steps. I found my door by muscle memory, the third from the end, and slid the card. The light flashed green, which felt presumptuous. Inside, the room that had played at being mine all afternoon waited like a dog caught near a broken jar. It was 7:50. The note had said 8:30. I poured the overpriced water into a glass that believed in symmetry and rehearsed bravery like a monologue. On the desk, my conference packet looked bored. The hotel envelope sighed. At 8:20, I put on a jacket that brought out my better opinions and took the elevator to the roof. Halcyon was everything the card had promised. Too clean, too confident, the music a little quieter than your conversation, so you'd confuse paying with intimacy. The hostess smiled a professional fraction when I said I was meeting someone. Bar or table? She asked. Let's start with disappeared, I said. At 8:29, a woman in a blue dress stepped out of the elevator, and the floor beneath me made an unprofessional decision. Sarah looked like the version of herself she wore when we were newly not tired hair up, like she only remembered the city when it was being kind. Shoulders bare, earrings that knew when commas were necessary. She didn't see me. She saw the man who put his hand in the air like claiming and stood at a railing table with the skyline presenting itself as a gift. He wore a suit that wanted fewer adjectives and confidence that had recently been to the gym. Mason. If my name woke him, he didn't show it. He kissed her on the cheek with the polite intimacy of people who have practiced discretion, then lifted her hand and looked at the nail of her ring finger as if love could be measured in cuticles. I did the only thing I could think of that wouldn't get me arrested. I sat. The bar stool faced the wrong way. I fixed that. I ordered water because spite would have made a poor cocktail. I watched the glass wall reflect lives and waited for my own face to learn a better shape. They didn't touch much. That hurt worse. Touch is easy to hide in crowds. Distance is the expensive discipline. They leaned into talk like co-workers who had made a deal with the night to let them be a different kind of sentence until morning. At 8:42, he put an envelope on the table. Her fingers rested on it without claiming. She laughed and then apologized for laughing, and he liked that, because men like Mason, like women who treat apology like jewelry. I finished my water and my mind finished me. I stood. I walked toward them. I rehearsed 3 versions of my next 30 seconds, and none of them looked good on me. When I reached the table, Sarah turned as if the music had told her to, and the look on her face taught me everything I didn't want to know about the last 6 months of my life. Daniel, she said in a tone of voice you reserve for a fire drilled wrong. Mason's gaze remained steady and wide, the gaze of a man who cannot publicly recall the names of the people he has privately cataloged. Daniel, he said, didn't know you enjoyed a rooftop. You're late for your own ethics, I said, which is not the kind of line that wins awards, but it did its job. Hi, Sarah. She stood too quickly. The envelope slid a half-inch and made a sound that pretended not to matter. We were going to tell you, she said. When? When we found a way to make it smaller, she said. There isn't one. Mason reached for his drink. Let's, he said, not do this here. I left the house you helped me pay for this morning, I said. Here seems qualified. Sarah's hand went to the place on her throat where she wears a chain when she remembers we believe in symbols. She wasn't wearing it. I'm sorry, she said. For what? I asked. For the facts? Or for being caught at a place with an expensive name? For pretending to you that I was okay, she said. For pretending to myself that I was too. Mason took a breath that implied patience but contained boredom. You and I can talk tomorrow, he said to me, with the confidence of a man who believes his calendar determines other people's grief. We're talking now, I said. Sarah looked at him, then at me, then at the city, as if checking whether any of the 3 would give her a cue. We started working together when your team moved under his, she said. I had to pitch. He liked my work. He asked for coffee. I said no. Then I said yes. It turned into a Tuesday without my consent, and then it turned into a Friday I chose. How long? Long enough that we can call it what it is, she said. And what is it? A complication that told the truth about a whole, she said. One we both felt before he walked into the room. I almost got angry the way men like me do when our syllabus runs out. Then for a second I heard something older than rage, the click of my own silence over months, the way I'd let work be the story, because work never asks questions you can't answer with more work. To be clear, Mason said, no policy has been violated. You can't have it both ways, I said. Either it's real or it's compliant. He smiled then perfectly, professionally. It can be both. And something about that sentence made my body choose its next move for me. I turned to Sarah. I'm done, I said, and the words once spoken arranged the air. With this, with him, with pretending we can read the same book. I know, she said, and the gentleness there was so unfair, I almost forgave her for using it. I broke the part I was supposed to protect. No, I said. We both broke it. You used him to feel seen. I used work to feel necessary. We made a religion out of logistics. He's just the priest who showed up with a better pamphlet. Mason stood the way men stand when they have judged the riskiest moment to be passed. Human resources, he said, will need to know if you intend to make trouble. I intend, I said, to resign. I didn't know I was going to say that until I heard it echo off glass. I watched the reflection of my mouth learn the shape of the word and thought, there it is, the decision I didn't book the trip to make. I left the bar without creating a scene because sometimes leaving is the scene. Back in my room, the welcome packet had opinions about the morning's breakouts. I sat on the bed and practiced breathing as if I'd just discovered lungs. My phone buzzed. Sarah. I'm so sorry. I never meant for you to find out like that. I typed, how did you mean for me to find out and didn't send it? I typed, I loved you and didn't send it. I typed nothing and put the phone face down on the desk beside the envelope addressed to her and left the light on like a boy. At 2 a.m, there was a knock at my door. I lay very still because every story I've ever believed taught me to. After a minute, the knock came again, softer, then went away. In the morning, the city did its day job. People who had made vows to coffee refilled their mugs with discipline. On 18, a housekeeping cart stood sentry. The envelope for Sarah still sat on my desk, insolent and factual. I took it downstairs and gave it to the clerk. Wrong room, I said. He frowned. We don't have a Sarah Whitaker registered. Try room 1812, I said. That's you, he said. Maybe it isn't, I said, and put the envelope on the counter. He placed it to one side with the tenderness of people required to document everything. We were both doing our jobs. At 9, I went to the second day of the offsite and watched Mason sell the future as if it were discounted. Lena sat beside me and slid a note onto my notebook. You don't owe this room the performance you're doing. I wrote back, I'm resigning. She raised an eyebrow as if I'd handed her a plot twist. Then do it before he weaponizes your calendar, she wrote. Do it while it's still your sentence. At the break, I found the VP, the one with the calm, and asked for 5 minutes. In a small conference room that smelled like logistics, I told her I couldn't keep my job. She looked at me the way people trained to hear more than the words look. No interruptions. No sympathy so obvious it becomes a mirror. Is this about Mason? She asked. It's about me, I said, and him, but mostly me. Is there a report I should read? She said carefully, so I can do my job well. I don't want to be the incident, I said. I want to be the man who left because he remembered he had choices. She nodded, wrote nothing down, which I respected more than I can explain. Then I'll accept your resignation, she said, and I'll read the parts of the story that are my job to read without putting you in the index. It turns out resigning quiets rooms. People who used to ask for my time began to email the future instead. The company agreed to 2 months severance like a civilized breakup. I walked through a maze of chairs and pretended I had left deftly before the fire. At noon, my phone buzzed again. Unknown number. Against my better judgment, I answered. Mason, he said, and let the silence that followed announce he believed I should care. I hope you understand you've misinterpreted. What part? I asked. Everything that looks like a choice is really the company managing risk, he said. Your departure helps. Hers will not be necessary. She doesn't work for you, I said. Everyone works for someone, he said. It's simply a matter of proximity to the check. I thought about saying something manly, which is to say loud. Instead, I hung up because there are only so many times you can explain to gravity that you don't appreciate its tone. I spent the afternoon walking the river. The city did its handsomest tricks. Bridges posed, joggers pretended they were paying attention to the music. I practiced versions of myself and did not trust any of them. At dusk, Lena texted, "Dinner? Somewhere where the napkins forgive you." I said yes because I didn't trust myself to be the only witness to my night. We found a place that believed bread heals. She didn't ask for details I didn't offer. We talked about the strange consolation of good metrics and the way some people speak in bar charts. We toasted to our own spines. At the door, she stood with her hands in her pockets, like someone negotiating with the cold, and said, "You know I'm not going to be your exit wound." "I know," I said. "I'm not going to be my exit wound either." "Good," she said. "Then go write the life you're qualified to have." Back in the room, there was no knock. In the morning, I checked out, placed my key card on the counter like a pen, and left the envelope for Sarah where the hotel keeps things it doesn't know what to do with. On the plane home, I wrote like a man who had been reminded time has a muscle. I wrote about the way we keep score badly in love, how we measure hours and not attention, how logistics become alibis. I wrote about envelopes and rooftops and silence that learns to stand like furniture. The essay sold 2 months later under a title the editor liked better than mine. It didn't change anyone's life. It changed mine enough to keep breathing without looking down. Sarah moved out of our apartment on a Sunday when the light was good for pretending. She took the books she came into the marriage loving and left the ones she learned to love with me, as if a library could be a consolation prize. We didn't fight. We apologized in the ways we were good at, she with a hand on my arm, me with a sentence edited to be less cruel. We filed jointly, and then we didn't. A year later, in a smaller apartment with a window that has not yet forgiven me, I keep a dish by the door, where I put keys and ring. The ring sits there now, unmartyred. Sometimes I take it out and turn it between finger and thumb until heat remembers me. Then I put it back. People ask if I hate Mason. I don't. I hate the part of me that would have become him if I had kept walking in the direction that paid me for pretending. People ask if I hate Sarah. I don't. She's the sort of person who will always be loved by someone who believes love is the same thing as admiration. I wasn't that man anymore. Business trips are still rehearsals. I take fewer. When I do, I book the smallest room. I leave the envelope on the desk unopened if it doesn't have my name with the right first letter. If there's a rooftop, I go there alone for the view and leave early, because night is pushy and I've learned to prefer days that don't need me to clap. On Tuesdays, I meet Lena for coffee and we talk about metrics we both stopped believing in. On Fridays, I call my mother and let her ask the questions easy enough to answer. Did you eat? Are you sleeping? Will you visit? On Sundays, I walk a river that isn't that river and let the water practice looking like forgiveness. I'm not naive. The story doesn't grant trophies. It grants rooms with doors you can choose to close. It grants mornings where you make coffee for one and the cup is heavy enough to be honest. It grants the quiet ambition to turn your life into something that doesn't require an audience to be real. Last week, a hotel sent me a satisfaction survey for a stay I didn't take. Wrong Daniel, wrong city. I clicked no longer applicable and felt smarter than someone I used to be. Then I went to the window, which was practicing being glass, and I watched the street rehearse its own ideas. And I told the version of me who still likes rooftops that it was okay to miss the view. Missing is not the same thing as wanting back what hurt you. I keep the Halcyon card in a drawer, not because I'm sentimental, but because it reminds me how the world looks when you've decided you're done being handled by other people's envelopes. On the back, I've written a line that finally fits the weight of my name. You don't have to climb to the roof to tell the truth. If you made it to the end of this story, thank you. It means a lot. New stories like this one are posted every single day, so make sure you subscribe to the channel and turn on the notification bell so you never miss one. And if this story touched you, please give it a like. It really helps more people find our content.